Well, hello everyone. My name is Kim, and during this coronavirus time, I've been doing a lot of cooking. And I wanted to show you one of my dishes that I like and my husband likes. It's spaghetti sauce, and I try and do it from scratch as much as possible. So I start off by turning on my pan on a pretty high heat. I add some oil. Olive oil is good. If you can see that, it's just enough to cover the basic sides and the full of the pot, if you can tell that. And you just want to make sure that it gets pretty heated before you add other ingredients. But for right now, I'm going to add some garlic. You can see the garlic coming in. And it's good to get the garlic to go in first. That way it can cook along with the oil. I guess that might be maybe a tablespoon. You could do more or less as you like. The next, and as you can see the pan, the oil is starting to separate itself. That means it's starting to warm up. And next I'm going to get, I guess it's about maybe a cup. We love onions. I like white onions in particular. They don't burn your eyes, and it has a very nice taste to it. So I use white onions, and as you can hear that the pan is heating up some, and I just pour all that in there. As you can see that. And then I just give it a little bit of a turn, just getting them all together. You want to marinate and let the onions cook a little bit before you try to put anything else in there for the time being. So you let that cook, let that get nice and heated and start to get that to cook some. And then once that begins to cook a little bit, then you want to begin to add other ingredients. So we're going to let that cook for a little bit, and then we'll come back after it's good and warm. Okay, so as you can see, it's cooking really nicely. The onions are starting to soften up a little bit, and the garlic, fresh garlic. I prefer fresh garlic. However, you can use minced garlic, you can use garlic salt, whatever you have in your refrigerator at the time. I prefer to finely chop up some fresh garlic, finely chop up, as you can see, some onions. Now we're just going to add some various other seasonings. I prefer red peppers. Doesn't that add a nice color to all of this here? It's starting to look delicious. It sounds really, really nice. That's a half of a large red pepper. Now, I prefer red peppers, and let me tell you why. They're sweeter, have a really nice sweet taste. You can choose red peppers, you can choose green peppers, you can choose yellow peppers. It really doesn't matter. It's according to how you like it, and you can actually add all three to give it a little bit of extra color. So now that we've added that, then I like fresh mushrooms. I'm not going to put all of them in there right now, but I'll put some in. And these mushrooms, I actually, might as well put them all. These mushrooms, I actually froze them. If you can see, they still look delicious. I actually had too much at one time of mushrooms, and I didn't want to let them go bad, so I tried to see if I could freeze them, and they came out really well. To thaw them out, all I did was put the bag that it was in cold water and just allowed it to sit in there until it thawed out. Now, isn't that looking delicious? Look at that. That's looking just delicious. You can tell that it's starting to cook because the fire is cooking them, and you can hear it, and it's a good heat to it all. I like to add capers. Now let me tell you a little bit about capers in case you don't know. There's those capers going in there. Yum. The green of it all looks just fantastic. Now, I love capers. Capers is a pungent, salty, vinegary taste. And you don't want to put a whole lot, but just enough to give it a nice little taste to it. Now, those are pretty much all of the seasonings in terms of that I wanted to put in here for now. And now I want to add some sauce. Let that cook for a few minutes, and then we're going to add some sauce to it. Now that this is getting a nice look to it, I now want to add some tomato sauce. And I usually get either Prego, this is Prego, but you can get any kind you like, and just pour it in there. And as you can hear, it kind of quiet things down a little bit. So you keep the light just a little bit high and let that fall in there a little bit. And what I also like to put in there, now this right here, this is crushed tomatoes. I love crushed tomatoes. And let me tell you why. Crushed tomatoes has a nice, sweet taste to it. And so it breaks up a little bit of the tomatoey taste that regular tomato sauce does. And this is a half of a can of one of those large cans of tomato paste, of crushed tomatoes. I'm not going to use the whole can. And what that means is I have a half of a can left. I pour it into another jar. And guess what? You got it. I freeze it until I want it the next time. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour this in here. Nice, smooth. It has starting to get a nice smell to it, aroma that's coming up. As you can see the smoke, and you just go ahead and you stir that together. And the water, not the water, the fire, sorry, I'm getting so excited here. The flame is still a little bit high. Now, as you can see, I prefer my marinara sauce to be a little bit thicker than what you see right here. What do you think I'm going to add? I think some of you have guessed it. We're going to add some tomato paste. You can get tomato paste from any place. And this is just store brand tomato paste. I'll usually add the whole thing in here. As I'm putting it in here, you can see. And you can see how thick it is. You know what other kind of paste I like? I also like, it's a Thai paste for when you want to make curry sauce or curry chicken. You get that Thai paste. It really thickens up the sauce really nicely. I'll prepare that for you one day as well. But you just want to go down and get as much as you can and get that in there. Now, what you also want to do is when you get down to the bottom, it's still pretty thick, but you want to use the whole thing. So you just get some water. You pour some water in here, just like that. And plus it adds a little bit of substance to your sauce anyway. You mix that together. You stir it up in the pan, in the little jar there. And as it's mixing, you can see how it's coming out. Now you can hear it. Can you hear and can you see how it's bubbling a little bit? That means that you want to begin to turn your light down a little bit. So you put your light down, maybe at the medium part, and then you just let it, look at that. Look at the capers. Can you see the capers? And you see the mushrooms. And if you had orange or green peppers, you'd be able to see that. You can't see too much the red peppers, but boy, It's delicious in the meal. Now, one thing I haven't added, and that is meat. I cooked meatloaf the other day, and I decided to put the meatloaf in here. So it's already cooked. It's cold. It's already cooked. So what I've decided to do is to add some meatloaf, and here it is right here. And see that meatloaf right there? It looks delicious. We had some, but we didn't eat it all. And so what we're going to do now is we're just going to cut it up a little bit. We're just going to have it, hope it doesn't splash all over the kitchen. We just drop it in like that. And the meatloaf already has its own seasonings in it. So you really don't want to put, and I season my meat well. Let me tell you, when I season my meat, I season it first after I get it from the store. There's a little tip for you. I season it first once I get it from the store, and after I get it from the store, I freeze it. Most meats, whether it's turkey, beef, chicken, it doesn't matter. It tastes so much more better once you freeze it overnight or for the next time you want to cook it. The seasonings go through and through. That's one of the secrets in having a good cooked piece of meat. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put the rest of this in here and just let it cook. And it's cold, so it's going to take a minute for it to really combine with the rest of the sauces that are in there. And that's okay. Now, like I said, I did not put any seasonings in it. And you can put anything like Italian seasonings and pepper and salt and oregano and fresh herbs if you like. Well, I've already seasoned my meat, and that's why I did not want to season this too much more. I'm going to let this just get nice and mixed well with the rest of the sauce, and then I will taste it to see if it needs any more seasoning. There we go. Now it's really, really looking good. Can you see how it's starting to blend together with the sauce? There's still some thick pieces in it. And this is going to be a nice, hearty, meat-filled marinara sauce with some added vegetables and such that I put in there, and I want you to see that. Okay, so we're going to let this cook. And after it's really cooked together and the meat has gotten nice and warm, we're going to check back just to see what it looks like and how it tastes, and to determine if we need to add anything else. Well, the meat is cooking nicely. It's nice. I've turned the light down to a little about still medium still. And as you can see the capers. You can see some of see this red pepper right here and some meat chunks, and it looks just so good. See the mushrooms right there, and you still want to continue to let it mix all together. Now I tasted it a little bit, and it still needs a little bit more of something. It's still a little too tomatoey for my taste, and the best way to circumvent that tomato taste is to add just maybe a teaspoon of sugar. So I'm adding some sugar. Go all the way over there, and then not a lot, just take the tomatoey, you know, because it's too tomatoey. And what also I prefer, and my husband does too, but me more than him, is that I prefer a little spiciness to my tomato sauce mixture. So I finally chopped up some jalapeno peppers. Not a lot, but really it's according to taste. And I'll show you what I did. See that right there? It's maybe about maybe a teaspoon or a little bit more of a teaspoon. And they're hot, but mixed with this, you really won't be able to tell the difference. It'll just be just a little bit more spicier than not, but not to the point where you can't eat it. So I'm just going to go ahead and the juices in it all there, and just go ahead and mix that in and let that drop, and then stir that up. Now, if you don't have jalapeno peppers, if you have hot sauce, you can do that. If you have crushed peppers, you can add crushed peppers to that as well. Anything to give it a little bit more of a little kick, more so than the capers. The capers give it a nice pungent taste, like a vinegary, salty taste, but not a kick like a spicy taste. And that's what the jalapenos do, or the crushed peppers, or the hot sauce. I don't prefer Tabasco sauce. I prefer the other hot sauce, to me, that has more of a seasoning taste to it. But again, that's your choice. And now, remember when I put in the tomato paste, how it thickened it up? And look at that. See it just falling off the spoon? Yeah, it looks really, really good. So then the best thing to do with this, now that you've added, or for my case, I've added all the ingredients that I want to add for right now. And now what you want to do is to just let it marinate and cook together for a good hour, maybe 30 minutes to an hour. And then when I come back, after I've let it cook for a while, I'll come back and then I'll place it on a plate with some spaghetti, and then we'll just see what it looks like. I have also some Parmesan cheese. I'll just add that just to let you see what it tastes like. But see that caper right there? Wow, look at that. The mushrooms, yum. And it has a wonderful, wonderful smell to it. Just delicious. I'm actually going to go ahead and use another spoon, and I'm just going to go ahead and taste it for your benefit. I can tell you what it tastes like. Hold on for 1 second to taste this. I know it's going to be too hot. It's hot. Oh yes, it is absolutely delicious. Yes, it's not as tomatoey. Oh, look at that. I better turn the light down a little bit more. It's not as tomatoey. I had a big chunk of meat that I put in. I taste the spice just a tiny, tiny bit. The key in all of this is to make sure that all of your meats, all of your seasonings, all of your, see there's an onion right there, all of your herbs, that they come together and it's one big, delicious, combined taste. And that's what you have there. Okay. And there is Kim's marinara sauce. I'll be back with some spaghetti, pour it over there, and allow you to see what it looks like on the final plate. Okay, everyone, we're back, and we let this marinate for a little bit longer. It's very thick, it's juicy looking, it's delicious looking. You can see all of the different ingredients that we put in there. Now, I also wanted to let you know that I added some small meatballs. Now, you don't have to, because it had plenty of meat in there in the first place. I know my audience. here at this house. And my husband loves not only the meat sauce, but he likes to have some meatballs in it too. Strictly up to you, obviously. Now I did taste it a little bit, and I wanted to let you know that it was missing something that would add a little bit more of a meatier taste to it. And so I wanted to add some Worcestershire sauce. This is maybe a tablespoonful for this. And so just pour it in there. I don't have to let that marinate. I'm just going to fold it into each other. And the tomato paste, see, the longer you cook it, the thicker it becomes. See how thick that is? Yeah, really good marinara sauce. Really good. So I just fold that in there. And now you see my spaghetti right there. I'm going to add that to the plate to let you see what it looks like on the plate. And as you can see, I changed my spoon. I got rid of but I stopped using the wooden spoon because that's mainly for mixing. This is for dipping, whatever kind of a spoon you have, ladle, this spoon, you just want it to be sturdy, basically. And I didn't want a metal spoon because that would mess up the pan. So you just have to be careful with your cooking utensils and know what you're going to use before you start cooking. Okay, we're ready to serve this. And I'm just going to just let it fall. Look how thick that is. Does it look good? Yeah. A little bit of everything. Hold it and just let it drape over my. Look at that. I'll add just a little bit more for your benefit. Let you see. Now I want you to see as we pour it over there. Can you see that? Do you see how thick it looks? It's not runny. It's not running over. It kind of stays in place. And that's how I love for my spaghetti and meatballs to look. Now I wanted to show you, not you, but I wanted to show you some Parmesan cheese. You can add it. You know, it really doesn't matter if you have it or not. But if you have it, go ahead and use it. Just pour just a little dab over it. It gives it a little bit of color more than, and it does. Okay, so it depends, right? It changes the taste a little bit. It gives it more of a cheesy taste. Most people like it. Some do, some don't. It's a preference. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle just a little bit over there. Yeah, not too much. Not too much, just to give it a little bit of color. And now you're ready to eat. And it looks just delicious. I need to get a fork. Sorry about that, guys. I want to get a fork to let you see how it just separates and how thick it is. Mix it all together. When you start mixing it, see that? And then you can determine whether you want a little bit more sauce or less spaghetti. It just depends. And so there you have it. Kim's marinara sauce. And you know how you eat it? Just like this. The key in cooking spaghetti where it's not too much on your plate, you break it in half before you cook it. You taste a little bit of cheese in there. You taste the sweetness of the peppers, the sweetness of that little dab of sugar. You even taste the added Worcestershire sauce, but not too much. I could have added just a little bit more spice. I don't necessarily taste the spiciness. I might add some later, but for now, that's it. Hey guys, thank you for this. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. This was my very first YouTube presentation, and the next time we'll cook again. For now, thank you for tuning in, and this is Kim at her kitchen.